people outside of New York, it's hard for them to understand, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Trinidadians, Jamaicans, Guyanese.
First of all, let's start by this.
Around each other.
Let's start by this. These rumors were made by radical black racists. Let's just say that. Okay? It's a group of these guys that don't want to hear Jamaican, don't want to hear Guyanese, they don't want to hear a black guy that ain't down with them. Right? So their job is to criticize anybody who don't look like them or who ain't black American.
Who are these guys?
You want me to say in there? We're going to give them too much clout.
I mean,
the FBA, Foundational Black Authority, whoever the fuck these broke niggas is. I'm just keeping it a buck. And their shit is to attack everybody on Twitter. You see this nigga who run them? Like, your leader? Oh, man, you got to be fucking kidding me, man. And so they trying to change the narrative. They're not from New York.
Right.
So they telling a whole nother story. This was whoopity doop wop. Yo, bro. Far as I know, we're at Yankee Stadium right now, and it's hip hop's 50th birthday. And the guy who invented it, Grandmaster Flash, my brother carried his crates. My babysitters made up the "Let me hear you say ho." It's two girls, twins, used to babysit me. They made up "Let me hear you say ho." So they have a big problem, these guys, right?
All right, folks, you just seen a clip of Fat Joe going in on FBA and the origins of hip hop. It's been a hot topic on these streets that, FBA created hip hop, and, some people have pushed back on that and everything. And Fat Joe finally let the cat out of the bag how he felt about the whole entire thing after months of taking the high road. And I'm not really surprised at this. And, I just been noticing on these YouTube streets that people have been doing video after video, letting Fat Joe have it and pumping up the FBA banner and saluting FBA and all this other stuff. But I'm going to say something that is just going to offend a lot of people on these YouTube streets. And I really don't care what the blowback is, because I'm not afraid to express an opinion that is different from the herd. So here goes that opinion. When you poke the bear, eventually the bear is going to maul you. In this case, Fat Joe was that bear. And Fat Joe was pretty much trolled for the longest time about this. I mean, it was a public discussion. Fat Joe pretty much chimed in on it, and then some people that were wearing the FBA moniker decided to, troll his Twitter account. And I understand that he blocked Tariq Nasheed on Twitter. Well, the platform formerly known as Twitter is now called X, so he blocked him. So anyway, I'm not really surprised, because Joe is like that bear that's been poked. So how much do you expect Joe to take the high road before he decides to say, fuck it, I'm just going to say what needs to be said? And that's pretty much how I took that clip. Joe just, it was accumulation of a lot of things that's been building up for the longest time. The only thing I noticed is, you had your Busta Rhymes and KRS-Ones and Pete Rocks that kept quiet about this. And maybe Fat Joe could have kept quiet about this too, but Fat Joe was like, enough's enough. I gotta let my feelings be known about it. And quite honestly, I wasn't offended by what Fat Joe said, really, because I understand something called context. And what Fat Joe's saying, it wasn't an attack or a slight against a whole group of black people. It was specifically targeting a minuscule segment of black people that call themselves FBA. Because contrary to popular belief, offline, black Americans don't really go by that label. In fact, if you used to go outside and go up to, the first black person and say, excuse me, do you identify as FBA? They're going to look at you like you just got off of a flying saucer. They ain't going to know what that is. So I say that to say that this whole discourse is ridiculous. It's designed for black people to go at Puerto Ricans. It's designed for black Americans to go at foreign-born blacks from other parts of the diaspora, particularly the Caribbean. And while we're at it, there was something that Math Hoffa said to that effect. He said that, New York is a melting pot. And in a particular section of the melting pot, you have people that are from the Caribbean. Because, parts of New York City has a high Caribbean population. I mean, you have Jamaicans, you have West Indians, you have people from Trinidad and other places, Panama. So so New York does have that high Caribbean population. And when you do the flip side, with the Latinos, you have Puerto Ricans, you have Dominicans, you have Cubans, and of course you have bits and pieces of other people from different parts of Latin America. I mean, you have people that are from Honduras there. You may have some Venezuelans there, and Venezuelans are making a name for themselves in the news in a not so great sort of way. But yeah, so, I mean, when I think about this issue, the only people that are outraged by it are people that aren't from New York City or don't know how New York City is or how people get down, particularly in the East Coast. Now, when you take New York City is, New York City has a high Puerto Rican population. And not just New York, you have Connecticut, you have Rhode Island, you have Massachusetts, you have New Jersey and Pennsylvania. These are states that have high populations of Puerto Ricans there. So when I think about these issues and people making videos about these issues, these are people that have no idea of how things go on the East Coast, weren't born here or spent a great amount of time here. And let's get on to Math Hoffa for a minute. Now, there's some people that were saying that, well, Math Hoffa should have pushed back against Fat Joe. Math Hoffa should have did this and that. And if you understand my expert opinion, Math Hoffa's show isn't that kind of podcast. Math Hoffa isn't a hard-hitting journalist or interviewer. He comes from the world of battle rap. I bet he didn't even take a night school course in interviewing Basics 101. So to expect Matt Hoffa all of a sudden to be Ed Bradley from 60 Minutes is just insane. He's not from that pedigree. He's from the world of battle rap. I mean, you have people in podcasting these days that aren't traditional journalists, so they are going to be unconventional as far as their questions and go and all that other stuff. So I don't really get that part of the outrage. And again, I'm not really shocked or offended by Fat Joe, because Fat Joe was only talking about a small segment of the population. Now, could he cleaned it up and said it a different way? I suppose he could. But keep in mind, Fat Joe is from the streets. He's from the boogie down Bronx, the hood, so to speak. So he's going to talk how people from that environment talk. And if you was to go and take another look at that interview, there's a strong possibility that when the cameras are off, this is how Fat Joe and Math Hoffa talk to each other. So this doesn't come as a surprise to me. Fat Joe was comfortable with Math Hoffa saying that because likely him and Math Hoffa had conversations like this off camera. And this isn't Fat Joe's first time saying the N-word on My Expert Opinion. He did say that, really. And he has used that in the past. It's like, Al Sharpton, he addressed Fat Joe as, yo, that's my nigga Fat Joe. And so did Suge Knight. And Fat Joe has used the N-word in songs, and I may do a video on that as well. So I don't really get the outrage over it. I mean, again, if we just look at some of these East Coast sections and neighborhoods and whatnot, plenty of the Hispanics lived in adjoining neighborhoods with black people. We went to the same schools. We were in the same social gatherings and what have you. Now, was it peace and harmony all the time? No. Were there schisms that may have to do with race? Yeah, there were some schisms here and there. But, the whole sum doesn't make up the whole... I can't think of that math example, so I'm going to skip over that. But I'm just saying, some little incidents here and there don't make the whole pie, as they say. So, yes, it wasn't peace and harmony with Latinos and black people all the time. There were differences. But there was also times where there were trade-offs as far as the culture goes, as far as, language, as far as dress, as far as music, as far as dancing. And there are occasions where, some black people got with some Puerto Ricans, reproduced, and had kids with each other. So there's that. So I just, when I think about this whole controversy surrounding this is just a nothing burger to me. And this, this whole FBA thing with Tariq Nasheed and whatnot, I've been following it for quite some time. And, Tariq Nasheed, originally, he was with ADOS, with Tone Talks and Yvette Carnell before he broke off and decided to form FBA. Now, his reason for doing so was because he claimed that ADOS was front for the LGBT movement and the Democratic Party. But in actuality, if you connect the dots, he left because he couldn't control ADOS. He wanted his own thing that he could control and that he could dictate and make money off of. In fact, he wanted to be the sole beneficiary of FBA. So much for it being a lineage. FBA is just another... platform just to make money. That's all it is. It's just another concept to make money, and everybody's falling for it like dummies. It's no different than Donald Trump and MAGA saying, oh, well, he's going to help the poor whites out. He's going to help this out. Well, the joke's going to be on poor whites because Donald Trump doesn't really care about poor whites either. And I can't wait until he cuts off some of these benefits that are definitely going to affect the poor whites. But that's another story for another video. Anyway, when I think about this whole controversy and everything, with who created hip hop and who's a guest in hip hop and who is it, it's all nothing burgers at the end of the day because, ladies and gentlemen, the originators of hip hop, in fact, FBA, and I'm just using that term for the purposes of this commentary. We created rock. We created a whole lot of music genres that we don't benefit from. That nothing is coming back to us. We're a fractured community. So I'm like, oh, we built a house. Yes, we built the house. But guess what? We're now reduced to tenants in the house that we built instead of owners. Who owns the house? I'll let you connect the dots with that one. But why are we gonna pump our chests up and troll people about a house we don't even own? It's no different than street gangs wanting to claim streets and blocks we don't even own. So that's what it is. It's just a cyberspace version of a street gang beef. But the street gang is called FBA. So it just doesn't make any sense. The person that's going to benefit the most off of this is Tariq Nasheed. And the next person that's going to benefit off of this the most is Math Hoffa with his video that went viral, but I'm told that he took that down, but I'm just going to check it out. If he didn't take it down, I'll just leave a link in the description box for you guys to check out for yourselves. But when I think about this whole argument, it's just silly. It's just silly because it's just designed to get black Americans to fight with Puerto Ricans. And at the end of the day, neither group accomplishes nothing but just fighting amongst each other. And you have the other person just sitting there spectating, pointing fingers while eating popcorn and laughing at us. Because the joke is on us at the end of the day about we're fighting over something that neither of us own. Yes, I'm a student of history too. But let's look at the facts. We don't own it and we're not benefiting from it. And if you call yourself FBA, I want you to do me a favor. Go and ask Tariq Nasheed if he can help you with your rent and see what he says. Tell him that you're an FBA, you can prove it. Both of your parents are, descendants of slavery, and see what he says. Tariq Nasheed lives in an area that has no FBAs. Very little to none. He lives in a gated community in Chatsworth. That's how much about the FBAs he cares about. He only cares about you to an extent where he can make money off of you or you can buy some of his products. And speaking of which, don't you know he has merch that has FBA flags and FBA air freshener and posters and all that? But you guys are going to big up and say, oh, it's a lineage. It's a lineage. It's a lineage, and Tariq Nasheed is cool with different people going around and trolling other people that may say another opinion that doesn't go with the general consensus. If Tariq Nasheed, and he founded and coined the phrase FBA, so that makes him a leader by default. If he really cared about any of this, it's the same with Donald Trump. If he really cared about MAGA, he would have been like, those people at January 6th, they do not represent the Americans that I pretty much am speaking for. They do not represent the America that I'm from. The America I'm from, well, that's a whole other video. Let's go back to FBA. If Tariq Nasheed could be like, well, you know something? The people that go around and to different channels and leaving FBA and attacking different people with other opinions, they don't represent us. We as FBA, we don't bother nobody. We're proud of our lineage, but we don't go and make people ashamed of theirs. He would say something like that, but he won't because it's profitable and it's beneficial for him to do all these things and to let all these things go. But none of y'all on these streets are going to connect the dots at the end of the day. You're going to just let this go like everything else. And I'm the only person on these YouTube streets that's brave enough to call this out. I've been following Tariq Nasheed for over a decade now. I've seen all the Hidden Colors with the exception of 4. And I went to some lectures of his. So there's nothing you can't tell me about Tariq Nasheed or this argument and whatnot. So don't come to my comment section saying, oh, you don't know about FBA. Oh, you're a tether. Oh, you're not. No, no, no. I'm a man that's brave enough to have an opinion. Much like any of y'all. Y'all want to just be sheep following a shepherd that at the end of the day, he doesn't really care if you go to the slaughterhouse or not. And I stand on my square about Fat Joe and everything. So do not come at me with this. If you're going to come at the comment section, be respectful. That's all I'm saying. If you don't, then I'm just going to take your comment down. No questions asked. Because the kind of discourse I want on this channel is a very intelligent and thinking man's conversation. But yeah, I mean, Fat Joe, to wrap this up, it's just been an accumulation of a lot of things, and he blew up right then and there. And that's all we've seen on my expert opinion. To me, that's pretty much what I've seen there. And furthermore, I just think that, instead of all these different people like Lord Jamar, Tariq Nasheed, and everybody else adding their 2 cents in, maybe we should have a town hall meeting or something where people can express their grievances in real time instead of just doing videos back and forth. Or maybe if you have Fat Joe's number, you should call Fat Joe up and let him know how you feel about this. But I know none of y'all will do that because you like to keep an argument going because it brings in clicks, it brings in the views, and it brings in the Google AdSense money. I pretty much know how this game goes, but I understand that none of y'all have integrity here because integrity doesn't pay the bills and it doesn't take your families on vacations or pay your mortgage. So. But that is just how I feel about the Fat Joe and FBA controversy. So, audience, tell me what you think. Let me know in the comment box. And like I said, if you're not respectful in the comment box down below, I'm just going to remove your comment. One thing to disagree with me, there's another thing to just be violently disagreeable. So keep that in mind. This is Iron Will Media.